potential, right? And I want to turn that over to Nicole because Nicole does a fantastic job up at the Blood Center. And first of all, I just want to get a little information from you, Nicole, just about
Yes.
what we're doing at the Blood Center. Tell us a little bit about it. And then let's take the story of we're taking a janitor, and then he becomes, a significant role player in Frito-Lay in the campaign of Flaming Hot. Sounds like someone with potential to me. So, Nicole, good morning. Tell us about the Blood Center.
We're located in Rockford, Illinois, and we serve 14 hospitals in northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. We are the sole provider of blood products and services for our community. The scope of that is about 1.5 million people in our population. And in our role, not only do we provide blood products and services, but we also work with research programs to help find cures for disease. So we have an amazing team of individuals that work with us. From an employee perspective, we hire a lot for donor care specialists, which are our phlebotomy roles, but then we also work with clinical lab scientists in our roles, and we are considered a pharmaceutical manufacturer of blood. So we are also working to manufacture blood. So essentially, from the time that a donor donates blood and the time that it gets out the door, we are collecting it, we are making a product from it, and we are getting it to our hospitals and working with them to get it to our patients.
Yeah, and it's just something we expect is there, right? Someday,
Yeah.
hopefully none of us ever need it, but should we need it, we just expect someone to be able to go over to the supply cabinet and have available what they need. I did look at your website this morning, and there's a warning: we're in critical position. We need more blood, and it's something that people don't think about all the time. But you do have people who are on regular schedule. I was reading a story on your website, and it was about a young lady that's worked there, I want to say 14 or 15 years, and she's referring to how people come back month after month, and they know her whole story with raising her children and those types of things. I remember when she was pregnant, and that must be extremely rewarding position for someone like that.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. That is LaShawn, and she's been with us now over 20 years. And
Fantastic.
we hired her back in the day without phlebotomy experience. And we throughout the years she's grown in her role. She's a phenomenal employee. All of our donor care specialist staff are phenomenal. It's very important in that role that they're providing positive donor experiences. And we have a lot of people that come in regularly to donate blood. And in that, with their connections, it makes a huge difference who you're hiring, what experience they're providing to our community. And we're very grateful for employees like her on our team.
That's fantastic. All right, so one of the things that I wanted to get you on the program to talk about, thank you for being on it, was that you really have a focus on potential, in some cases, over experience. Can you just kind of frame that up for us? What does that mean, and how do you look and identify potential? Because I discover that a lot of organizations will say, oh, you know what, just give me someone who has potential. If they would show up to work on time, if they could pass the drug test, if they can mind their P's and Q's and have good manners, I would hire that. I would hire 10 of those people right now. So then I send them over some people I know and say, hey, these meet the criteria of what you just told me. And they're like, oh, they really don't have the experience I'm looking for. And so they go right back into this space of, oh, I need experience, not potential. So just tell us what you do and how you do it.
Yes. So when I think of potential, what I'm looking for and have always done through the years does someone have great potential? Are they a great cultural fit? And specifically with that, it's why? It's their why. Why are they interested in the role itself? Why are they interested in working for the blood center? How familiar are they with the position? And do they have a genuine, authentic interest in wanting the job versus needing the job? So it's very, if they do, it's very important because it helps us to have, if we hire an employee with great potential, we have an employee that wants to learn, that wants to be engaged, that wants to be connected with the job itself, wants to be a part of our team and our mission. And those factors are very important to us. And those tend to be our more successful candidates and employees, both in the short and the long run. So in certain instances, for example, talking about potential, one of my best hires is now my HR manager and works with me. And in her case, she had great experience. It was transferable experience. It was experience. She did not have HR background. I've hired the HR candidate with 20 plus years of experience and thought to myself, this is going to be easy. This person's going to come in. They're going to know HR. They're going to know the laws. They're going to know employee relations. They're going to have already handled difficult situations and be ready to go. So I'm not going to have to spend too much time. It's going to be seamless and easy.
I've been in that spot before myself.
Yes. And I have found through experience through the years, like in her case in particular, I will always say she's one of the best hires I've ever made, is I knew her prior. I saw her in a retail management background setting and knew her actually for several years in that capacity. And when she applied for the position, I remember talking to her about how she was interested in getting into HR. She was interested to go to school for HR, but she hadn't been on that journey or that road yet. So when she applied for the position, she didn't tell me because she didn't want to put any pressure on me. And I called her in for an interview, and her why, her reasons were wonderful. Wanting to work and be connected with our community, caring about the role, having a genuine enthusiasm and passion for human resources and wanting to learn it. I wanted to give her an opportunity. And so what I've done is we've been able to go through our own internal and external programs. She's working towards her certification, but I have found it way more rewarding, and she is much more engaged. It's much more fun for me to be able to help give back. Having been in my role in an HR for 20 plus years myself, I find it more rewarding to share my knowledge, to share my experience, and help her be successful. And we have an amazing work relationship because of it.
That's a great success story, particularly in the HR profession. So in your scenario where you're hiring all the time, you have jobs posted today. I saw that.
Yes.
How do you get to the why in the screening process? How does that happen for you?
Well, it's an excellent question. So what we do is we use the AIM-TRACK system, by the way, which is
fantastic.
An awesome system for us. So it's easy for us. It's very quick to get our jobs out and posted and start our recruitment process. So when I'm looking at our applications and someone's resume, in HR, as we all know, we can get a lot of applicants all at once, and you can peruse things through things pretty quickly, right? You can see the resume, you can see the work experience, what someone has done through the years, and get a good gauge on whether or not you think they may be worth the interview. But one of the last questions on our application is, why are you interested in working for the blood center? And it is after I've scanned really quickly at thinking whether
into, I think, in AIM-TRACK, the quick app, right? So
yes.
You ask a series of questions, you design the question, and you're saying that one of the questions that you ask in the very beginning screening process on the quick app is, why do you want to work here?
Yes.
Because not every employer does ask that question.
No, in fact,
they're asking about their experience, not why.
Yes, in fact, we customize that. So we added that question, and it is absolutely one of the first. It's the last question on that, and it's the first question that I go to the quickest. So I've
Okay.
looked at people's information and I look at that question and how they've answered it. And sometimes people leave it blank. And that's not ideal. We might still need to call them and we might need to still learn their why, but it's very telling if someone wants the job. Do you want the job versus needing the job? Those are two different things. When you want the job because you want to do that, you're attracted to the position, you're attracted to what the role does, you're attracted to the blood center and what we do. Even if you're someone who's never donated blood, but you're familiar with us, if you've really taken the time to look at the job description, to look at the position, and you've understood your why, we all
Yeah.
need to know our why. What is our reason for wanting to go somewhere? Because someone who wants a job is going to be a better fit. They're going to be a more natural fit, which is good for both that candidate and it's good for us too.
Yeah.
So,
No,
hey,
that's fantastic. Go ahead,
let me
Bert.
just jump in. Nicole, this is all great and fascinating. You've been a tremendous guest. Phil, two things. First of all, I think you want to take a look at your poll there because I think the results are really interesting. And the second thing, I thought of a great idea. I think it's your next all-day conference that you should invite Nicole and her team in and do a blood drive at your all-day conference. I bet Nicole they would do phenomenally well if you did that.
Yes.
I would agree. And I know you have some histories of doing some exciting and kind of edge-cutting blood
Yes.
drives as well. What I think you had the name from one. Was it Weed for Blood?
Bleed for weed. And thank you,
Bleed for
Bert, by the
weed.
way, for plugging blood drives because we need that here at the blood center.
Absolutely.
We always need blood. So, yes, it's Bleed for Weed. We just recently had a blood drive at a marijuana dispensary in Illinois. Marijuana is legal. There are lots of reasons that individuals use marijuana for therapeutic and or other reasons. And we were fortunate enough to work with the Life Dispensary here in Rockford, Illinois, to host one of their blood drives. It was the first blood drive of its kind in our state and apparently across the nation. We made national news
Congratulations.
because it was a tremendous turnout. We were very grateful for our donors that were present that day, and we had a wonderful turnout, and we definitely gained a lot of recognition and a lot of conversation surrounding it.
That's fantastic. It looks like we have an average here. Nick, help me. Is it 3? We're seeing that
that is correct.
Average respondents 1 through 5 is roughly about 3.
Yep, we are
pretty
3.
close, leaning more towards potential over experience.
I think that's smack dab in the middle. 3 is right in the middle. So somebody else needs to get in there, get involved, and get it off the middle. We don't want a middle. We want to.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'll be really honest. I don't see that practice. I hear about it. I know Nicole and at the blood center they practice it. I don't see that as a practice most time. I believe HR believes in that. And most of the time what I see is then we turn over candidates to the hiring manager. And I don't believe that the hiring managers practice that as much as HR promotes it. And because, maybe that's where the rubber meets the road. There's probably lots of reasons of immediate performance versus invested potential performance. Do you deal with that at all, Nicole?
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that because I can instantly think of a very recent example. So we had a candidate that applied, and on paper, the manager came in and said, I'm really excited about this candidate. They have the education I want. And the role does, there's certainly factors with experience and education and specific roles that we absolutely need specific criteria in order to hire them. In this instance, the person looked great on paper. And then the other candidate she was interested in had actually a fair amount of experience, but didn't have the education. So from a potential perspective, when we interviewed both candidates, the one thing that stood out the most with the candidate she liked on paper is when we asked, why do you want to work at the blood center? What attracted you to this position? Have you read the job description? Throughout that conversation, you could tell that the candidate hadn't really fully understood the role and or what we do, because he repeatedly said, well, I need experience. I need a job. So again, if you want the job versus needing the job, who will be more successful? Who will be more engaged on their employment journey? It's the person who wants the job. So in her interview with the candidate who had experience but not education, the level she wanted for the specific type for that job, she enjoyed that interview better. So she enjoyed that the candidate was a donor she knew what we did, and she was very excited, enthusiastic about the job itself and the organization. So when we sat down to talk about who should we hire, we discussed that, and I said, who has the greatest potential? Who is your best cultural fit? Those are key things to think about. If you want someone to be successful in your organization, and it goes both ways, right? We want to enjoy the candidates and the applicants, the employees that come to work with us. We want them to enjoy their work experience, but we want to enjoy having them here as well. And the candidate who wants that job, who cares about that job, she said, well, it's the candidate that doesn't have the education I want, has the greatest potential, and the greatest is a better culture fit. So can we train her? Can we give her the tools and the resources and the skills she needs and the mentorship she needs to be successful?
Right.
Yes, she said, I think I can. So in that process, in that discussion, she answered her own question, but you have to go through that conversation with your managers and help them understand why it can be more valuable to them to take a chance on that particular candidate, because we can all look great on paper, we can all interview well if we're good at it, but you really have to delve into someone's why and understand what their potential is to determine if you think they're going to be the right fit for your organization.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your colleagues. Forward our invites. Share the link, aimea.org/thisweekatwork, or follow or subscribe wherever you get your news and entertainment, like LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere you are. And you can be part of the show. Send your questions and comments anytime to info@thisweek.work. We'll see you next week, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, when we discuss what's happening this week at work.